Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Three. They've been around basketball from the Big Dipper to the Greek Freak, from Russell Celtics to Curry's Warriors, from Peach Baskets to Paolo Banchero. Here are Whitey Gleason, Phantom, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
Welcome back to the Old-Fashioned Three. How you guys been? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, really, yeah.
How is everybody?
Jerry, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Jerry, yeah.
Phantom.
The Phantom, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
That's exactly
That's the only
right.
two that really matter. Yeah.
Right,
Good call.
right.
And the other guy, yeah.
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 Phantom was sick, and I was.
Well, I
was
don't
in
think we
Palm
need to go behind
Springs
this.
and-
We pull
Yeah.
the curtain back over here,
Yeah.
okay? Come
Well,
on.
I don't want to point
It's like-
fingers, but how come we haven't been on the
okay,
air?
somebody wasn't in town for 2 weeks. But, that's not the way you do it, Jerry.
No, it
We're a
isn't.
team here. The Old-Fashioned Three.
I was, I had went for a while there just thinking because after I got over my spell, we weren't doing anything.
You were in protocol. Right?
Yeah.
Well, but I just thought maybe you guys had just phased me out. You were.
Actually, we
I
did
kept checking YouTube to see if there's an old-fashioned
Did
two.
you Old-Fashioned Two in there? Yeah.
Yeah,
So out there.
Yeah,
And just being cynical as
Sure.
you age,
Yeah.
and you go through something.
And realistic, yeah.
And realistic, yeah.
Sure.
turns out there's been a lot going on with those Sacramento Kings.
Yes.
Where do you think right now? What's the biggest surprise? The Kings are surprising many around the NBA. Of all the things they got going on right now, another big win over the Bulls. That was a tight game, and then they won that thing going away Sunday. What to you is the biggest surprise about what the Kings are doing right now?
What the Kings are doing right now?
Right now, and how they've gotten to where they are.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a surprise. It's the fact that we talked about this at the beginning of the
I was
season.
actually asking you, but he wanted to jump in.
You
so
looked
we'll
right
have
at me, so I figured,
Yeah.
he's supposed to be running the show. He looks at a guy, he makes
He
eye
did
contact.
look at. I saw that.
You looked at me too, so I figured,
It was a ball fake.
We talked. No look pass. We talked about it at the beginning. Looking at the roster, saying the names are a lot better than they've been in the past, and all they have to do is play up to that. And it seems like they have. But what I like is the fact that you look at the box score. Half dozen times they've had 7 guys in double figures. The assist totals are way up. So I'm just impressed that they're playing up to what we thought they could do. And
Does
the fact
that
the way
surprise
they're doing
you?
it does surprise me as far as, because they have situations where De'Aaron Fox, who's been very good, some nights he's not good. Terrence Davis steps up, somebody else steps up. So they're doing it with depth, and they're getting it from everybody, and that does surprise me. And I really do like the way they're moving the ball. I mean, the 30 assists on 7 or 8 different occasions are indicative of that.
Totally unselfish team. Totally unselfish. And I know I've said this a lot, maybe too much, but I totally believe it. So much of it is because of Sabonis. He is a totally unselfish player.
Yes.
And the ball runs through him a lot, and he's more than glad to give it up a lot.
And you've been saying since we started this, they need to run
More
offense
stuff through
more
him.
Through him. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, probably the best screener in the NBA. And sets more of them, probably 3 times as many good screens as any other player in the NBA.
I'll get his screen assist numbers.
Screen
for you.
assist
No,
numbers.
they're
and
not-
if it's
soaring,
legit,
yeah.
it would be off the chart.
It's soaring. Yes, absolutely.
But there's a couple other things that strike me is that I would have thought, like a lot of fans, that this team could not win and be a consistent winning team without De'Aaron averaging 26, 28 points a game. Well, clearly that's not the factor anymore. And to De'Aaron's credit, he's not forcing the issue much. I mean, I think he's kind of like Sabonis. He's playing, kind of taking what the defense gives him, and is more than happy to let others shine, whether it's Davis or Monk or whoever.
Right,
Herter.
exactly.
And then the defensive rating. At the start of the year, they were just as bad defensively as they were last year. And as the weeks have went on, they were 25th and 22nd. Then now I think 16th or whatever in the league. And so that's a credit to the coaching staff primarily. Players obviously have to do it, but they've made great strides. So and then the last point I'll make, I really like watching them.
Yep.
They're fun to
There you
watch.
go. Bottom line. Yeah, right there. Bottom
Really
line.
like watching.
And part of that is they play with enjoyment, and
Yes.
they love playing together, and they play with confidence.
It's a lot like the Warriors have been through the years, and I think they're better at it right now than the Warriors as far as the unselfishness sharing factor.
Yeah. If I throw it to you and I know I'm probably going to get it back, that's great. 2 things that have surprised me. One was just the fact that De'Aaron Fox has shot the ball so well this year. That surprised me. I was feeling like, I don't know if he can ever be a good of a shooter, and he's a really good shooter. The 3-point percentage is way up, and this is getting maybe a little hinky here. Last year when the Warriors got off to a great start, Steve Kerr was asked, what surprises you the most about your team? And he said, I can't believe we're number 1 in defensive rebounding percentage. And the Kings right now are number 2 in defensive rebounding percentage. So maybe that Mike Brown has something to do with that. You know, as you guys know, most successful defensive possessions end in what? A rebound.
Yes, they do.
So
yes.
if you're number 2 in defensive rebounding percentage, that also I think speaks to how much better the defense has been and how much better it can get. That when I saw that number, that stunned me, Jer.
Yeah, you know, the with the Kings, and everybody of course wants to, boy, the Kings, if they had a rim protector and all that, I just about want to spit up
Okay,
a little bit.
That's not a good look, though. So don't do that.
But
yeah.
You get Akeem Olajuwon, that'd be good.
Even now,
even now,
he probably would be.
But I
top
mean,
5.
it's like one of the reasons to rebound, like you say, defense is good and they're spreading teams out, but the guards are rebounding well. You're getting, teams shooting a lot of long balls, long rebounds.
Yep.
So, size isn't quite the issue, as we saw last year with the Warriors winning a world championship with no rim protector and no real size. They just won it with real good basketball players playing really good basketball.
Yeah, Phantom, I know you and Stones do a lot of – you still doing that stuff with Stones? Is he still in the picture?
I'm not aware of the person you speak of.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
I know you guys do a lot of soccer, and you have a goalie.
Soccer,
World Cup going on,
yeah.
Basketball isn't like you don't have a guy
have a
who can
goalie,
just
no.
stand there and play goalie.
No,
right?
but I think all the stuff that we're talking about is because of the fact that all of them are contributing. The defense is better because they're all playing defense. They're all buying in because everybody's got a piece of the pie.
You're right. You
Everybody's
can't play good team defense if you don't get that. I think
you
you're
have
right.
to have all of them, and they're all. You get 7 guys in double figures. All of a sudden, you're thinking, "Well, I'm scoring, so I'm going to go back and play harder on defense." And I mean, it's just human nature. And if they all do that as a team, everything comes together. So I think that's basically the key, or the key component in all the success is the fact they're doing it all together. We've talked about it. You talk about being fun to watch. It's fun to watch a team that plays together, moves the ball, and plays for each other, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, Malik Monk is playing as if he's trying to tell the world, "I've always been this good, MFers." You didn't know it.
Well, you got to work blue.
Doesn't he seem to be playing with that kind of yeah.
Well, I always said that when he came out of high school, he was more highly rated than De'Aaron Fox. And early in their Kentucky freshman year, if people would have a memory, which I do, of things in the past, not so much.
I don't remember where
not
my car is.
Not so
everything.
much. Not so much yesterday.
Not everything. But
I mean,
Monk
was clearly the guy that was the highest rated of that Kentucky team, and everybody expected him to go in the top 6 or 7.
Charlotte took him, right? Did
Charlotte 10th or 11th,
Yeah.
whatever. But I'm saying by the end of the year, De'Aaron had a great tournament and moved ahead of him, and rightly so. But I'm just saying that Monk was always a highly rated, touted player that probably went to the wrong place in the draft. And, they weren't patient enough. I would say the year they let him go was the year it looked like he was starting to get it. And then, of course, his year with the Lakers, you saw he got it.
Yeah.
And they would love to have kept him, and obviously they'd be better if they could have, and the Kings benefited from that, of course. And now he's showing you parts of his game that we didn't know he had, the playmaking ability.
Yeah.
He and Kevin Huerter are 2 guys that you knew were good, or at least most people knew they were good enough to help you, but you didn't know quite the complete games that they had.
Yeah.
And certainly with Coach Brown and the style of play, you're getting to see that.
By the way, I don't mean to be negative here about the Kings, but I was reminded of something as you were talking. The guard that they traded a pick to Dallas, and Dallas took Hardy.
Jason Hardy, yeah.
Last night,
Jaden Hardy.
Jaden Hardy. Last night he played 2 minutes. He had 10 points.
10 points. I liked him.
Wow, that's Derek Martin numbers right there.
It is. Yeah.
Did he stare the coach down when he was doing it?
No, I don't think he did. And Luka gave him the game ball. But anyway, I thought of you because I know
Luka.
you've been saying.
Oh, well, I said that at the time.
Yeah.
When they gave that pick up, I said, man, that guy's got, he was a top 5 high school American. And he didn't have a great G League. But it's like, wait a minute, he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
You know, this is a guy that you know, you better,
they got 2 number 2s for him, so we'll see. But
we'll
he had
see.
a big night last
night.
night.
I always say that's one of those things. It's like, wait a minute here. If you can get a guy like that with 30
Jerry was
there's
on him.
There's no risk here.
No downside.
If it doesn't work out, you're okay.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that speak to, though, the Malik Monk that you're talking about, doesn't that speak to something, except for maybe the top 10 or 12 players in the league? It's all about fit. You know, it's all about finding the right place. And there's some players that will work in different places. But Malik Monk was playing well with the Lakers. But when he got to this team in this setup, then he's able to shine. So fit has something to do with almost everybody in the league as far as – and how many times does a bad team take a player, a young player, give up on him? And it might be something later on, might not be. But he would have been much different had he been picked by a different team.
Yeah, there's such a small group that simply are so good.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference where you put them.
Yeah.
And you'll notice those guys are also not traded generally. You know, I mean,
You're talking about a guy like him right there.
Yeah,
You're talking about, yeah.
But I mean, the Magics and the Jordans and the Birds and the Kareems.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Bill Russells.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
legendary kind of guys.
Now Giannis, people like that.
Giannis
yeah.
Antetokounmpo, and even him though. I mean, nobody knew he was going to be an all-time great at the time.
Because he grew, 3 inches after he got drafted,
Yeah.
too. So that changes you a little bit.
But I mean, once he got there, I think they immediately saw, well, he's going to be real good.
Yeah.
And then now he's great. But anyway, yeah, I think it's just like I say, most of it's fit, be in the right place with the right coach, right team.
Right.
And then you never know how much a player's going to improve, right? You just never, the player himself doesn't know how hard a guy's going to work. And even how, depending on how hard they work, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to improve. So you just,
Well, it's like every
so many
profession.
variables.
I've always said many times. I mean, you can, if you wanted to rank all the lawyers coming out of law school every year.
That's a great idea.
And-
Which we
and
do.
you-
Yeah, we have a podcast. yeah.
I mean, rank them 1 through 65 or so, and you'd find out that about half of the top 20 would be ambulance chasers in 5 years.
They're going to go entertainment law or something, so who cares what they do? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're not going to go
Speaking of
criminal.
these guys, where did he come from? Watching the Warriors last night, a bad loss for the Warriors, and they were without Wiggins, but the Pacers were without. Duarte's out, and Halliburton was out, and Turner's out, and this guy Andrew Nembhard, who I know when the Pacers were here last week, he was like 6 points or something.
Yeah,
against
he
the
wasn't
Kings.
much.
He was unstoppable last night. You saw some of that too, right? I thought
I
of you
did.
and what you had said about John Stockton said that Hurley used to pass for layups, and this guy Nembhard last night, he's passing for layups, and he scored 31. They could not stop him. Second-round pick out of Gonzaga. Where did this guy come from?
Yeah, it really was remarkable. I mean, I was going to say, you watched the game, and if you didn't know who were the big stars, if you just came from Europe and the first game you'd seen in the NBA, well, that's the star.
At the end, the Warriors start. But how many times has that happened that he knows the other guys aren't there? So whatever he does, he's going to be out on the floor. He's going to get the time. So all of a sudden he reaches. Now he's not 31 points every night, but he does a lot better because he knows it doesn't matter what I do. I'm still going to be on the floor. Halliburton's not here. Duarte's not here. So I'm the guy. And so you get that kind of confidence knowing you're going to be there. And again, not 31-point confidence, but much better than usual.
Yeah, but he did show a real game, I think. And I mean, here again, I think it's going to translate. I mean, there again.
Number one among rookies in three-point shooting, and he made some daggers last night.
Yeah, hit the game winner against the
and they're trapping
Lakers
him. The Warriors are trapping
You
him.
got to get the ball out of Nembhard's hands. Yeah, you got to do that. That's
that was going on.
Scouting report. Yeah, well, a huge win for Indiana too because they had a couple of bad losses, but they beat the Lakers and then they beat the Warriors on this West Coast trip.
Yeah,
they're one of the surprise teams along with the Kings. I think.
Not a surprise to you. You had them
I did.
sitting in Stone's living room in August. So I like the Pacers.
Well, where the Pacers are, I think, are really lucky is they can really afford and need to probably trade Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. They honestly don't need them.
Right.
They've got
Buddy Hield was bad last night.
they've got the replacements.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
And so, that and I mean now my contention is neither one of them are probably worth what maybe Indiana thinks they are, or sometimes
or hopes they'll get,
or some of the analysts.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still have value. I'm never been a Miles Turner fan per se. He can block shots. Okay,
not a great rebounder. What is your?
No, not a great rebounder. Not a great low post guy. Not a great transitional player.
He sounds like
Need
he's
I
not,
go
not
on?
great. Sounds like he's not great, Jerry. Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that could probably help a really good team.
Mm-hmm. I know your buddy.
If you're on a bad team and you really need somebody to make a difference, he ain't your man.
I know your good friend Larry Bird says that the Pacers kept the wrong guy.
Well, they did. There's no question about that. I think they knew that too.
But they couldn't have gotten what they got.
They couldn't have got what they got without giving up what they gave up. But, and that's the way it is. I mean, generally speaking, if you want something good, you got to give up something good. Not normally do you you know.
I saw this kid last night. Speaking of players that are surprising, this kid for the Clippers, number 2 for the Clippers, with the game winner last night. Who is this guy?
Leonard?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leonard. Yeah. Kelly Leonard. Yeah, he's a new kid. Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard with a game winner last night. What's it's like?
That's exciting though that seriously, that he's back on the floor.
I know.
Who knows if he can stay on the floor, but if him and Paul George are back, that just changes everything.
It's like, what year am I in?
Yeah, it changes.
I remember him.
They cleared out for a guy who hasn't played in 3 months. Let's go ahead and go to him for the last shot.
Yeah.
Worked out pretty well.
But you also know, if you're a Clipper fan.
Yeah. Jerry,
I'm not going to get.
Jerry, come on.
I'm not.
They're out there right now going, what's Jerry going to say? He's going to say something good about our team.
How many people have you ever known that have been Clipper fans, honestly?
I have
Laker
never
fan?
actually.
I've
never
known a couple.
Couple, yeah. But
I
not
know
many,
guys,
right?
Billy Crystal was
Okay.
only
Yes, he
the
was.
first and the celebrity
Yes, he was.
to be.
Because he couldn't get Laker tickets.
Couldn't
So
get
he goes,
Laker
I'm going to go get Clipper
Well,
tickets.
no, I think he wanted to be.
Yeah.
He
Mr.
sensed,
Clipper?
He sensed
In the front of the
that
bandwagon.
I'm going to get in front of this. Now
But
he
it's
didn't
a
know it was
three-
going to be 20 years.
It's 2 decades he's been waiting.
Yeah,
over there.
he that's what he failed to see.
That was when
he
he was hosting the Oscars. Now he's not even doing the People's Choice Awards.
Yeah.
Come on.
But anyway,
Yeah.
if you're, obviously if those guys can stay healthy and play, and and pigs learn to fly, they'd be better off. I mean, there's a lot of things that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I wish them
pigs learn
no
to
ill will.
I mean,
because
either.
I'd like
I
for
love
them
Kawhi.
to certainly always be the best in L.A. I'm for
Yes.
that.
Well, speaking of that,
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to bring that up, but if pigs could fly, they'd be better off. I'm going to have to get inside that one. I don't know.
Well, they as opposed.
I mean, they could move better, sure, yeah.
Well,
and get
they-
away from the guys who
well,
want to turn them into
if you
bacon.
was going to go, like shoot one of them or gut one of them,
And he
they
flew-
can fly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
pretty solid reasoning.
That's
I don't
good
know why you're-
reasoning.
All the
I-
things you could disagree with, that
I
wouldn't
mean,
be the one
yeah.
I'd go with.
I just wanted to know, the whole mechanics of the thing, but he's right on the
Yeah,
overall.
right.
But yeah, go ahead and lay it on. I mean, I was
he
going to bring it up
knows.
too. I was
You
going
know,
to bring
this
it up
time of
too.
year, Christmas,
Yeah.
people talk about the ghosts of Christmas past and all that. The ghost of Anthony Davis passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That Ghost is 35 and 15 in the last 3 weeks.
99
so-
points in his last 2 games.
Yeah.
Well, and as you guys, I'm surprised you haven't pointed out. I know you're looking for the chance, but I'm the guy that said here about 3 or 4 weeks ago or a month ago, boy, this guy ain't even a top 30 or 40 player now.
No, you were right 3 or 4 weeks ago, though.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be a top 5 guy. Well, lately he's a top 5
Yeah,
guy.
he's top 3 or 4 now.
Yeah, he's back to
Yeah.
and it's interesting because the more LeBron realizes, the more they need to go to him at Davis as opposed to LeBron. The team gets better now, and there's other couple things. I mean, the Walker kid is really a score the ball.
Yeah, and
they're
the country
finally
Mamba,
and they're-
Reeves.
and they're playing him,
Yeah.
and then of course getting Schroeder. I mean, somebody that can get the ball out of LeBron's hands, take some of the pressure off him, has helped. A lot. I mean, somebody other than Patrick Beverly, which
Yeah.
or the replica of
The clone. He's cloned out there. Yeah.
who Patrick Beverly used
Generic
to be.
Patrick,
generic
Patrick
Patrick
Beverly,
Beverly.
generic Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And, well, I know you're being self-defecating, but I got to give you credit in this regard. I can't remember what I was going to give you credit for.
That just shows a lot about you.
No,
really.
Darvin Ham. Here's what it was. I apologize.
Okay, yeah.
You said Darvin Ham's going to be a good coach, and Darvin Ham is the one who has been preaching we got to go through AD, and it looks like
We'll
now
get him back at center too, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what.
yeah.
That's what he. I don't
So-
want to be center anymore. I don't want to be center. Now he's a center. He's averaging 35 and 15.
You said Darvin Ham would be a good choice for them. So far, I mean, I know there's still a lot of pizza left in the box for them, but it looks like he's doing some good things and actually having an impact.
Well, they're getting better, and
Yeah.
and I think Ham, he's a tough-minded guy, and I mean, or how else could you get Russell to come off the bench? And he should have been doing that a long time ago, of course, and probably start of the year. But at least I think he stuck with it, and Russell's been pretty good that way.
Been excellent. Yeah.
And they've kind of got their rotation now. I mean, I'm a little scared of them, to be honest, because if obviously LeBron and Anthony Davis, you've got to pay attention there.
Yeah. So are you hoping that they will trade their draft picks for Turner and Heald or something like that? I mean,
I don't care what they do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I just wish them bad stuff.
Just wish him terrible
well, I
luck.
guess
Yeah.
I guess
could
my
see
question
Hield
is,
going back
do you
there,
think that
though.
would be a bad trade for them?
Both those guys could help them.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
doubt. I mean, well, let's put it this way: those two guys will help them a lot more than future draft picks this year.
This
Yeah.
year, right?
And
right.
and you worry about future. But
Yeah.
If I were them, I don't know. I mean, I think they could use both those guys because obviously it'd give somebody to play behind Davis and with Davis, so Miles would be good in that
Yeah,
role.
yeah.
In that role, as a 20-minute guy.
You mentioned Russ coming off the bench. And correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Jerry seem to have some kind of connections with the Hawks? Like he kind of knows what's going on with the Hawks.
He knows what's going on with many squads.
Yes, he does.
yes.
But he seems to. I don't know if he's got. I think he has friends in the front office.
He
there.
has some
So
people inside. Yeah.
what's going on with Trae Young?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to kind of get with my insiders. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
you
can
knew we
only-
were going to ask you that. Jerry. I'm
no,
surprised.
Well, I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
protocols,
actually,
sure.
raking leaves is more important.
And those turkeys and everything. Yeah.
He was raking leaves
Yeah.
today. I saw him.
Yeah. Anyway,
He knew you were coming. That's why he went out there to
I
rake.
So
just-
what happened? For those who don't know, like Phantom, what exactly happened
Yeah.
with Trae? What he?
Well, I guess he and Nate McMillan had a little disagreement on shoot-arounds or something.
So
And-
on
and-
NBA radio
Yeah.
today, they were saying that he was issued an ultimatum: either you come off the bench or you're not going to play. And he didn't. So he didn't show up for a game. Yeah,
He was going to go. He was going to go to shoot around, and then he was going to decide if he was playing at shoot around. And they said, "No, you either play or you're coming off the bench, or you're not going to be there." And then all of a sudden, he had a sore shoulder.
He
So
didn't.
that's
He
kinda
wasn't
weird.
there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
And when he was
sore
asked
shoulder.
about it,
Sore
it's kind of a
shoulder.
bad look. He said, "Well, you outsiders, you don't know what's really going on." So apparently, he was
That's
issued
true.
some kind of
Yeah.
ultimatum. Had something to do with come off the bench and wasn't happy.
No,
Yeah.
unhappy. It's it's really rare when a major star gets unhappy.
Yeah.
But just
Yeah.
skip a game. I mean, it's one thing.
not
load
practice, I know.
management's one
Okay,
thing.
I know.
No,
Yeah.
but they said so. I'm not going to play. I don't know.
Maybe maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe that's just the
Well,
tip of the
maybe
iceberg.
Jerry will
Perhaps
find out,
There's a
but-
problem between Mr. McMillan and Mr. Young that needs to be adjudicated before we move forward.
As you guys know, I mean, Nate McMillan is pretty much a leader of the band, or wants to be.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I mean,
my way or
he's-
the highway kind
he's
of guy.
kind of a
Old
Darvin,
school would be the
an old
diplomatic
school
way to
version
say
of
it.
Darvin Ham.
Yeah.
Basically that would kind of like to be in charge of the team.
Is that one reason why he didn't stay in Indiana, or were there other things?
Well, I think it was the case. My understanding that had to do more with the owner that they just thought that somehow or another they were entitled to win 50 games a year.
Gotcha.
Even if they weren't good enough to win what they were winning.
Gotcha.
And
I apologize. I derailed you
and
there
of
on that,
course, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
as most of us know now, it's like Rick Adelman. He's run his course.
Yeah,
what's he
right.
know?
Sure.
That
Yeah.
sort of thing. But it happens, but Nate's a good coach, and Trae Young's a terrific talent. I mean, I think there's a case where probably if I'm Atlanta, just watching them like you guys do, is like, well, Trae, as good as you are, you probably need to try to play defense more and give up the ball a little more.
Play off the ball a little more.
Now
Boy,
that
those
you-
are two tough asks right there, Jerry. Those
I
are
know.
two tough
I
asks
know.
to any young player. But Trae Young, you're hurting him. You're hurting him where he lives right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I get that because
I thought it was only a 47-foot court, says Trae Young. I didn't know you played the other 47.
well, and he was so gifted, and he is that he can come in the league and kind of have things his own way, and they had success, and
Yeah.
now they got DeJounte Murray,
Right.
and they've got some other pieces. So
Who always get hurt. That's Collins and Hunter hurt
yeah,
again. So
they're
that's a
both
problem.
out.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
a problem.
key losses, and so I imagine it'll work itself out. And unless the NBA changes, my guess is at some point, if the Hawks say we got to shoot, there's Trae Young, there's the coach.
Yeah.
Okay, Trae, who do you want to coach?
Why don't you decide who the coach is?
That's the way that usually works, isn't it?
Yeah. Speaking of new stars blossoming, I know the Hawks just lost to OKC. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. We knew he was good,
Insane.
right? We knew he was
Insane.
good, but woo, my goodness.
Yeah, and the fact that they're 11-13 now and not 6-17 or 6-18 like we
Yeah.
all thought they would be. I mean, they were primo team one for tank, along maybe with San Antonio and Houston, and all of a sudden they're 11-13 and they're sniffing at playing.
Some are suggesting, you know what, they may still trade him. And I don't
Trade
how could you?
SGA?
Yeah, if they feel like he doesn't quite sync up with their long-term plan,
Well,
they trade him.
He
They
is
can't.
their long-term plan, isn't he?
He
is.
They will
SGA.
They will have no plan.
Yeah.
They will be playing nowhere in front
agree.
of nobody.
I agree. Yeah.
With no chance.
Yeah.
He's young.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 8
He's got
all-star years ahead of him.
Right.
This might be the first one. Yeah, right.
He
now,
may
yeah.
be the very best guard in the league.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
really.
So so we're a bad team. We have the best guard in the league. So let's deal him.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
I
and
know.
I don't.
That's
They're
a
not.
good- I know.
They're not saying that, but a lot of observers are suggesting. Well, I
well-
don't know, but I don't know how. There's no. Even if they wanted to, there's.
I bet he
no
wants
way.
to go to the Knicks.
Yeah. Oh.
I bet the Knicks are on him.
Yeah.
Trade
That's
him
the
for
one-
Trey Young.
Oh,
Trey Young
oh,
back
what a
home to
great
Oklahoma.
idea. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic idea.
Yeah.
No, he can't
He's
go
amazing.
anywhere. He's amazing. He's great.
and that's a fun team to watch.
That's a fun team to watch. I think they're well coached. Obviously got a good GM. I don't believe a word of that. I mean,
it doesn't make
it
any
makes
sense.
no sense. And,
Yeah.
no. I really don't know who's better than he is right now. Really.
You got anybody?
Maybe,
well,
even Luka.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the case because, he's in that category. When
Yep.
Whatever.
I would take Shea over Luka, but I'm not the biggest Luka guy.
No,
let me
you're
ask
not,
you. Let
yeah.
me ask you a tougher question.
Okay.
Would you take him over Paul George, who you gave up to
I definitely would not. Yeah, because Shea's going to play, right?
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
Shea's going to
yeah.
play.
and better?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, let's say
absolutely.
trade him. Yeah,
that's actually an
absolutely.
easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Kings now. Back to the Kings real quick because they got a 6-game trip coming up here.
Six-game trip, yeah.
Yeah. What do we got? Milwaukee, and you got the Knicks.
I think Cleveland's on the
Cleveland,
trip,
and I think
yeah.
it's Philly, Toronto, and Detroit.
So
Yeah,
some pretty tough outs.
And I think
right
they
there.
have
Yeah.
a couple of those 6-game trips coming up. So the lazy thing to say, well, we'll learn about a lot about the team on this trip, but they've got I think the 21st hardest schedule so far. So they haven't played a lot of great teams.
Okay. Yeah.
How big is this trip for the Kings? They got to win some of these games on the road, right?
I think they got to. I mean, they need to win 2. If they went 2-4, I think everybody or most people. I mean, you'd have a certain segment
Sure.
say, "Well, they'll never win a championship if they don't." Blah 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 blah. But
You don't put much stock in whatever they say. Blah,
I
blah,
do
blah,
not.
blah, blah.
I do not. I mean, the reality is the reality. Road
Yeah.
games are harder to win, and that's why when you see teams with winning road records are usually contenders for the championship, and that's why I always look at little things like, for instance, Denver and Utah have played by far more road games than any other team, and Denver really with their road record and what they've done probably are the best team in the West. Not Utah or not Phoenix.
What if I suggested respectfully that it might be New Orleans? How much pushback would you give me?
Not a lot.
Yeah, they're pretty good, huh?
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. And they've had a lot of injuries. Ingram's missed time, and McCollum's missed time. Zion is starting to play. So, yeah, I think they're for real. I mean, the Grizzlies have had their injuries. That's where the Kings have been.
Right.
They've probably been the least affected by
Yeah.
injuries of any team in the league. And so, but getting past that on this particular trip, if they can get a couple of wins, they're going to come back above 500, which would be remarkable at this time of the year.
Should I be concerned with this? You look at the top 10 in the West right now. I know it's early, but we've played 20-something games, so you get an idea of what's going on. Top 10 in the West. The only team in the top 10 in the West with a losing record in conference right now is Sacramento at 5-6. Is that something? Is that a thing?
No, that's not. No, that's not something.
That's nothing? 5-6, not a thing?
I'm not worried about in conference right now. I'm worried about what Jerry said, coming back over 500, because when you come back from the 6-game trip, you're going to be a third of the way through the season.
Yeah.
So if you're at 15 wins, third of the way through the season, I mean, mathematically, that's pretty good. That's pretty
You
good.
lost me.
But more importantly is the things that we like about the Kings so far, the defense and playing as a team and everything, that should travel. That's what I want to see. Is that going to travel? Like they say, defense travels. So they're playing good defense. They're sharing the ball. They're getting a lot of assists. Let's see if they can take that on the road for an extended period and come back with that still intact. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, too. If in fact that happened with the 15 wins, like Phantom said, you're coming back with basically playing more road games than home games, and you're still over 500.
That's good.
That's very good.
Especially
and,
a team that was projected to win 35 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
to your eye, how much of a difference has Mike Brown made to this point?
he's done a marvelous job. Anytime you're talking about Coach of the Year or Executive of the Year, I think both Monty McNair and Mike Brown deserve strong consideration. to date.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's certainly others you can put in that
Sure.
picture, but they certainly should be mentioned and considered strongly.
To me, it's especially impressive, especially from Monty McNair's standpoint, because we believe there was basically a mandate. You got to win now. You have to turn this around, kind of like when Minnesota did last year. Mike Brown just got here, so there's a little bit of a honeymoon period. But for Monty McNair, right, this is like, all right, what are you going to do? This is it. This team has to win now, and so far it looks like he's pulled it off.
I think, yeah, I mean, really, his moves, I mean, obviously, I think Keegan Murray is starting to get back. He's a good draft pick. Whether he'll turn out to be the very best, who knows? But certainly he's good.
If you view him in a vacuum, he's disappointing, maybe. But if you look at all the rookies, he's still like one of the 5 most productive rookies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And certainly he really fits well with his teammates.
Yeah,
what's going on, yeah.
There's no sign of any kind of selfishness.
He's no Nemhart or anything, but he's a
No,
good
no,
player.
no.
Can't expect that of everybody. He's not
no.
Nemhardian.
There's one, kind of like, anyway. So you got
There's one of those in every draft, maybe.
I have no more comebacks for that, but no witty banter for me for there.
Yeah.
But I mean, they, Herder and, like say, Monk, terrific pickups. I think KZ.
Okpala?
And to me, that probably goes to Mike Brown more than Monty. It's a guy he wanted. And you can see now where he's kind of become part of the rotation, maybe spot rotation.
Yeah.
But I think wisely so because, he can score a tiny bit. But when you put he and the little terrorist in there, Davion Mitchell.
Yeah.
You're
I don't know if that's going to catch on, but yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I mean the defense.
You get a little,
And then
traction of
Monk's
heavyweight, yeah.
usually in there, and I mean they're just they're after guys, and I think so. I think it's all good. It's all good. I mean, I think I really respect. Fox has kind of blended his game into the team. Doesn't seem to be concerned about getting 25, 28 a game. I was happy to get 18 on
And
12
the W.
shots or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
13
because he's
shots.
going to get the recognition that they want if they win. You got to win games in order
Yeah.
to get that recognition around the league as far as all stars and all that stuff. If you're not winning and you're putting up numbers, you're not going to get that recognition.
No, and he's really trying to play defense. I thought the game, we've seen him against Halliburton. I thought he really did a nice job getting in and using his quickness and length. And, of course, Davion, doing what Davion does is like, oh, my God, don't guard me. Leave me alone. And then, so anyway, yeah, I don't know how you could expected more.
Phantom, I know a friend of ours. We'll just call him Darmichael Cave. Okay, I heard Darmichael
name,
Cave comparing Sabonis to C-Webb, and I didn't hear the whole comparison, but interesting. What do you think as a guy who was there during C-Webb's heyday with the Kings?
in the sense of moving the ball, running the offense through him and stuff like that, I can understand why you'd say that. I don't think you want to compare the players, but when you talk about their role on the Kings and how they're best utilized, I can see why you'd go there. I mean, I think Weber, obviously, when he was healthy, was one of the 5 best offensive players in the league, something like that in that area. I don't know that Sabonis is that. He's more well-rounded perhaps, but I think Sabonis is more, I don't know, is kind of like more used to being the passing hub than Weber is. And I can see that, but I don't know. I can see where you compare them with what they do on the team. I don't know that it's a comparison of Sabonis is as good as Weber and that. I don't think it's that kind of thing. I think it's more of a rule thing.
If I may go before you, because obviously your opinion carries the most weight on this.
Oh, boy.
One of the things I thought of is Webb. I agree. Webb was so talented. He benefited greatly, though, with the Kings from playing with Vlade.
Oh, sure.
The interior passing was incredible. And vice versa, I think Vlade benefited from playing with Webb, too. So as far as who's a more talented player, Webb, the big Webb guy, he was amazing. But right now, and it's only part of the season here, Sabonis it's incredible what he's doing. I can't believe how well he's playing defensively, and he's having maybe as big of an impact as Webb did in the early days of the Kings' resurgence.
Yeah, I would say he might have a bigger impact, but he's not as good. I mean,
Both could be true. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, it's a different circumstance here, but no, Webb is more gifted. There's no doubt. I mean, he could get 22 and 12 in his sleep. Not being awake half the game.
Right.
I mean, but I've always said with Sabonis, and to his credit, I mean that guy, his conditioning is. You know, I mean, I've never seen a guy that size runs that like he does. You know, he runs like Curry or something all game long. And
always on the move.
Always on the move, and his stamina is terrific. I would say he's a kind of a between Vlade and Webb. He's better than Vlade. He's not as good as Webb, and but he's for what he does. I mean, all the screens he set. I mean, you know, I mean, I don't think either one of those guys you could put on this team and necessarily make it better. Than it is now. But I'll go with what it is. I mean, the guy is the perfect guy that this team needed. Sabonis is, and he'll never be as good as Chris Webber,
Right?
as from an all-around gifted status, because Webb's the best player to ever play in Sacramento.
I remember,
and that's that till something changes.
Years ago, being at a Warrior game when George Karl was their coach and they're playing Larry Bird and the great Celtics, and George Karl after the game was talking about how, man, it's 4:00 in the afternoon and Bird's out there and he's working on his game. And he's talking about, where's our guy? And I think he's talking about Joe Barry Carroll. I don't, you know, it's like,
well, I can see that.
So
comparison,
anyway,
sure.
yeah,
I'm talking about comparisons.
But
okay, bring that.
And
to
you
the
mentioned
table.
the Warriors and Curry. When you have your best player, or certainly a guy who is up there among your best players, and he just works his ass off, it really raises the standard for everybody, doesn't it? I think that's part of what's going on with. So he plays so hard.
Yeah, I really do agree with that. I mean, I think when your best player or most valuable, and he is the most valuable. He's not necessarily the most gifted, but he's the most valuable. And the way he works, and totally unselfish. And, you know, and that also. So it's a little harder for the, you know, second level players, you know, the Metus and them to come in there and say, well, I'll go get mine.
Yeah.
Well, and you kind of see it. Metu's kind of fitting into being a pretty darn valuable player, and he's kind of playing within himself all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm a happy camper with Sabonis, that's for sure.
Yeah. This road trip scaring you, Phantom?
Not scaring me, no.
Scaring you?
It's going to identify.
Are you scared?
I'm a little bit frightened. Yeah, I'm a little bit frightened when you start yelling at me like that.
No,
What is going on with
I know
today?
this. If I was on that road trip, I'd be getting a big per diem envelope. That's what would worry
Yeah,
me.
6
That would
games.
not scare me.
I was
That would
talking-
not scare me.
I was talking,
Cha-ching!
having talking with Gary Gerald, and I said, "Man, that's talking about you know you're missing this." I said, "I miss those per diem envelopes."
Yeah, that's an aspect of the road trip that we haven't really investigated as much.
That's a wonderful feeling, you know.
Speaking of the old days, we used to on this show long ago. We used to go through each show a player. Letter by letter, A to Z.
We used to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
old-fashioned 3 A to Z.
But then we,
I
did
think-
focus group did stuff, and we dropped that. Yeah.
No, we just haven't done it because we haven't done it. I think we're at the letter K.
Oh, okay.
So the letter K, and again, this isn't necessarily the best player. It's a player who, for whatever reason, there's something that we remember about that player, or think he's underappreciated or overappreciated, or is a funny story. So we're at the letter K today.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Old-fashioned 3, all the best players, the greatest players, A to Z. Do you want to start, Phantom?
I
Who you got?
had
Here's your
one.
letter K. Last name starting with the letter K.
Okay, I had one, and we were discussing this pre-show, and I just threw a name out there, and Jerry came up with a great story about this guy. So, are you going to go ahead and say that guy? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It was
I'm
half
not
an
sure
hour
if he
ago.
remembers because I don't remember either.
Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah.
so
If you said 6 months ago, maybe I could remember, but no.
the guy I'm saying is
yeah. He's talking about
you remember the
Larry
fight?
Kristoviak.
Oh,
Kristoviak,
yeah.
So can I throw him out as honorable mention, and Jerry can
Sure,
tell the
honorable
story?
mention, and then, yeah.
Larry Kristoviak is my guy. Jerry, do you know anything about Larry?
I sure do.
I'm glad we got you back into this. That's
And
good, yeah.
as you guys know, Larry is a terrific college coach. today
Absolutely.
and had a great. But I always remember coaching one particular game. Larry was playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. Del Harris was the coach, and we were playing in Milwaukee. And Jim Peterson was playing center for us. We had a bunch of injuries and whatever, and so they were playing against each other. And Jim and they were both good friends actually, but Jim was screwing with him, pinching his, and whatever.
Pinches his,
And then they got into a shove match, and all of a sudden, Kristoviak turned around and just knocked him goofy, a big right hand right across the snout.
Boom.
And so the game stopped a minute, and I ran out there because I didn't know how bad Jim was hurt. And he was still on his feet and just knocked out. He didn't know what year it was, and then finally I said, Jim, you are you? And he said, oh, I can still play, Coach. I said, I don't think you can unless you can breathe out your ears because your nose. Because his nose was laying on the side of his face.
It was over on the east side. Yeah.
So, but I always, every time I see Jim, does color for the Timberwolves, and I always say, that's one of. I say, anybody think you weren't a tough guy? I still play. I said, holy cow! I had to kind of, turn away, just to look at it.
If you were short-handed there because he was playing center, then he got hurt, broke his nose. Do you remember who?
Is that when you're running Randy Allen?
Really, I was kind of like Jim after that. I was, I
coached out of your ear.
Yeah, because I know we were kind of leading the game, and I think we, kind of,
After that,
it was a momentum changer.
Right.
And as you said earlier, and I know you don't remember, so Larry kind of made a statement to the league on that.
He did,
night.
and I remember we were talking about it, with players on the bus. I said, I guarantee you one thing: Larry Kostoviak will never have to fight again because it was on national TV. And every player saying, "Ooh,
well,
we won't mess with that one."
What did he say? Every player, woo. Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
My honorable mention. My actual one, of course, is Bernard King. We talked about Bernard King. I think one of our first shows that we did, as far as being a little bit underappreciated. He was the definition of buckets. He played. I was looking through his stats, and he played like 16 years. When he was 34, his 14th year, he put up 28.5 for Washington. So, in those days, there weren't hyperbaric chambers, and you didn't have your cook living with you. So when you were 34, you were 34, and he put up 28.
Was that after he hurt his knee?
Yeah,
before he hurt his knee,
he hurt his knee earlier. After about his 8th year, he hurt his knee, missed the season, then played 5 years, and then hurt his knee again. This was right before he hurt his knee the second time. But 34 years old, 28.5, and so he was just the definition of, you needed a bucket, you went to Bernard King and you got the bucket. And he was just an unbelievable player.
Yeah, into my career, we were, playing him, when he was not a shell of the guy he was before, and you still couldn't guard him.
Yeah, but he's exactly.
Because he was
power and quickness, right?
Oh,
on the left side,
he didn't have the quickness, but he had the skill at that time. But early, when he was healthy, yes.
Where did he go?
Yeah. You just, he get 30
and no 3-pointers either.
Yeah,
he did it all the old-fashioned way,
the old-fashioned
three-way.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was a marvelous talent. Yeah, as good offensively as anybody.
I'm not sure which way to go here because I have one guy that I was thinking of and another guy who
you can do honorable mention.
I've
already established that.
May I?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Honorable mention. There's in the history of the ABA and NBA, there's 23 players that average 28 points and 10 rebounds in a season. This guy is one of them, and he's the only one who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. Larry Keenan?
Nope. Now he was a 20 guy.
Billy Knight?
Billy Knight is exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Billy Knight is third year in the league, something like that, with Indiana.
He was amazing.
He was good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And he was
good executive too, by the way.
with the Hawks.
Hawks,
Yeah. I think he averaged a 51% shooter for his career, and the first 3 or 4 years he was an All-Star 3 times, and he fell off. But yeah, he's a really good player. But okay, so that's my honorable mention. Guy who's known for being overpaid, John Koncak, who was a center with the Hawks, and I think Jerry has some experience with John Koncak.
JK?
Yeah, you coached him in a college All-Star game?
No, as a high school All-Star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he must have been great.
Oh, yeah. Come on. He was a draft pick.
He was an awfully good talent, high school talent, recruited by SMU. A lot of players were trying to recruit him at that time, heavily recruited. And I was a college coach, and I was coaching a team of Kansas City, Missouri Stars versus Kansas Stars. I think that's the way it was. And so John was on my team, and John really had a lot of confidence in his ability.
He
was a great player, obviously.
And he kind of thought that pretty much that these other guys were there for him.
They should defer to him.
Because he was John Koncak.
And thought that he should get the ball. And I always remember we had a little – I was wont to have an opinion at that time.
We were the coach.
Yeah, I was a coach.
You were the coach.
And I was probably every bit as arrogant as he was and a lot older. And so we had the timeout, and John was telling, I'll never forget it, though. He's telling, and Jesus, what's wrong with this situation? Do these guys think I'm invisible? I must be invisible. They don't seem to see me. I said, well, I told him, John, I'll tell you what. Why don't you see if you're being invisible sitting over here? And
You benched the great John Concack?
I've set his little 6'11" butt right down there next to me, and so I'll say this: it sort of picked up the momentum of the squad.
So the team enjoyed that.
The team enjoyed that.
I think the first time you told us that story, you said he was on the bench and he was unhappy that he wasn't playing, and you said, "Oh, I thought you were invisible." I didn't know
Jerry wouldn't have said something like that.
So I don't know.
No,
even a smart butt like me, I might not have went that far, but he wasn't. He was a he's a decent guy, and he just was like a lot of 18-year-olds, got a little ahead of himself.
Yeah, and then in the early days of free agency, early 80s, he signed a massive deal with the Hawks, and he was like an okay player. Right?
Yeah, it's one of the, I always remember that draft. That was a Joe Klein draft as well, where Joe was a 6th pick, but John went, I think, 4th.
He went 5th. I think
4th
he went
or 5th.
right before him,
But the two guys in front of them, I think it was Benoit Benjamin and William Bedford.
Yeah,
they were even worse.
Fine ball players, both of them. Yeah.
I was going to say the top 6 picks or so were about 4 stiffs. And actually Joe probably had the best career of all of them because he lasted the longest by far. I mean, it's always remarkable that people, when you just kind of look at it from your standpoint type thing. You don't think, well, look at all those guys that went in front of him. Well, William Bedford lasted 3 or 4 years. Benoit Benjamin 3 or 4 years. Concack maybe 7 or 8.
I always
Joe 12 or 14. Yeah.
Here's the deal. Pardon me. I wanted to look up the details. It was 89. Concack received a 6-year, $13 million contract from the Hawks.
13 or 30?
13.
6
years, $13 million, an unprecedented total for a reserve. He was restricted free agent time. The Hawks matched this offer from the Pistons, and he earned the nickname John Contract.
I always remember that because I was filling in for you doing sports.
Oh, okay.
And he signed that contract, and I said, wow, that's a lot of money for a big white stiff. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to get fired.
Ooh.
Because, I mean, that was, you call a guy a big white stiff in 1989. I mean, that was way ahead of it.
Cutting edge.
I was not asked back. But anyway, I
think ultimately they probably said, he's right.
Yeah,
the FCC said, well,
why didn't he say that before we signed him? Yeah.
He's right. Yeah, we can't.
Guy knows the game over here. Yeah.
John Contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was, the money at that time. I always remember people going, getting all bent out of shape. But about the same time, LaSalle Thompson signed a contract, $800,000 a year. He'd been people. Oh, geez, Christ. You can't pay him that kind of money. It's like, he
Style was our guy.
Even
Come on.
well, I mean,
yeah.
Even at that time, he was worth that. I mean, or more really. So it was a good contract. But
So all that money to play basketball.
$800,000. My gosh, you'll never have to work again.
Yeah.
Well, I always say that's kind of the thing with the salary stuff now. People say, well, this average player getting $8 million a year. Yeah, it seems pretty ridiculous, except that with a collective bargaining agreement, the players get 50% and the owners get. So would you rather billionaire owners get more or players get more? I'd just assume the players get more. I don't care.
Yeah.
Labor,
now, I would really prefer, that basically the retirement plan gets better.
Yes.
Or
the old coaches
seems reasonable.
Plan.
Or they look back and say, boy, we didn't pay these people in the past as much.
Coaches of the 80s didn't get enough money. Let's go ahead and go back and visit them.
You used to have to handle tickets?
Oh, I did. Yeah, on the road. Yeah, I did do everything. They wouldn't travel a PR
traveling secretary kind of guy. Is that what they had?
Yeah, no, I was, and the trainer pretty much. Me and the trainer did everything because that was it.
He had to. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Players pretty much. Well, sometimes they'd have to carry their own uniforms. Although we'd have sometimes, if you're out on the road a long time, the opposing team would take them and clean them
up for you.
So they wouldn't courtesy.
I thought you were saying sometimes you had to launder them.
Well,
I don't want.
Well, see, like in Bill Russell used to. I mean, his day. That never happened. It's even worse. They not only had to carry their own stuff; they had to wash it themselves. He said guys would be washing it out in the sinks and the hotel, and they were two to a room at least. Where at least in my time.
Even Russ had a roommate?
Russ and Cousy, I'm sure. Wow, there you go.
or it's later on if you could get a single room, but you had to pay the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I came to the league, the players still the first year that was that way then.
Did the coach have to room with
No,
somebody?
no, you got to
with the assistant coach. Yeah, all right, okay, yeah, or the trainer. Yeah,
no, that
yeah.
was that part. I mean, so yeah. After that, just but people I always say sometimes it's like Jerry Sloan used to do with Utah during the preseason. He'd always make his teams fly commercially at least 1 or 2 games, just a reminder of how good they got it.
Yeah,
I always thought that was really smart, you know, because. I know, because we all get that way. You just, well, geez, this plane,
yeah.
They only got steaks on this table, what's going on here?
Pasta? Come on, I'm not having
Come
pasta.
on.
Yeah.
Where's the ice cream? What's going on here?
Well, bring us home, Jerry. Who's your letter K guy?
Jason Kidd.
Ooh.
I've heard of him.
Jay Kidd, outstanding coach. Maybe certainly one of, if not the best player to come out of high school in Northern California. Certainly, I mean, Kevin Johnson, Bill Cartwright, we can think of others that would contest that, I think. But I mean... But
he and Peyton played against each other, right? In early days in Oakland, I think, or playgrounds.
Yeah, they would be.
He was
yeah.
St. Joseph of Alameda against the McClymans, right?
But he was, just an unbelievable high school player. And one of those so different in the sense that it was never about scoring. He was true playmaker.
Never was.
A true playmaker that just made everybody better. And, of course, came in the league and really couldn't shoot very well, kind of like Magic. And then as the years gone in, smart and a winner. And, of course, finally got to play on a champion. But Jason Kidd, the only story I'd have on Jason, I always remember him in high school and high school and then college at Cal, and after his freshman year, there were rumors that he might come out.
Okay.
And it wasn't totally legal, or in fact, it was actually illegal.
It was not above board, as we say, yeah.
But at that time, I did research now. If there's a chance he'll come out, just let him know that we would take him.
Sure.
So you looked at the legality of the whole thing and said, well.
Yeah. And, of course, the person not that he was allowed to have an agent, but I conveyed it to a person who I knew was going to be his agent.
In the inner circle, yeah.
Sure.
And
this is prudent. This is
just very prudent.
That's what
planning
you do.
ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you did it all anyway. Yeah, come on.
I mean, and so
you're handling the
but
tickets.
they said no, he's going to stay another year. And so anyway, but I thought at least.
Oh well.
But that's what happens. Sometimes the breaks go for you, and sometimes they don't.
How close did the Kings ever come to drafting KJ?
Well, it could have because he was drafted, as a Kenny Smith draft.
Yeah.
And but I don't think he was ever really considered. I think that Kenny
was that Russ at the time making that?
Yeah,
decision?
Russ was the GM, and and Kenny,
North Carolina,
the more pizzazz, even though we know that Kevin Johnson was better, and so it was a mistake. And it is. I think that happens a little bit too. Is what's the most familiar you tend to discount. It's like
But I mean,
Kenny
Kenny Smith
at the time it seems
good.
like there's less risk.
Yeah.
Right. At the time,
you could
It's
understand
North Carolina,
that.
Kenny Smith.
Yeah. I mean, it's like nobody questioned it, and they shouldn't have. Kenny had a good career.
Yeah.
There were guys taken in front of him that weren't as good, and then there's some guys taken behind him.
And he led the Rockets to 2 championships.
Yes, he did.
Elijah helped some.
Yeah, but it was basically Kenny.
It was Kenny.
Yeah,
it was Kenny.
Okay. The Kenny Smith led Rockets.
The Kenny Smith
yeah,
era.
that's what they called it.
Yeah. All right. So how about our class of the letter K, Phantom?
I liked it. I liked the fact that we had some honorable mentions. Mr. Reynolds knew a little bit about these honorable mentions. I think that has to be a staple going forward if we can figure that out. But I do like our Ks. Jason Kidd, Bernard King, got some Hall of Famers in there.
Yeah, no, I know.
I don't remember who he did, but I mean,
you
and I were good.
Did he give one?
No, some night or something. Yeah, there
and
you
the
go.
Great John Contract.
Oh yeah, I had to
yeah.
get that in there, right?
All right. You guys want to try it again Thursday? Old Fashioned 3?
This week
I'm mentally ready.
already?
Yeah.
You're 48 hours and you're already ready.
I'm ready.
I'll do it.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for joining the Old Fashioned 3 on Stones Radio Networks. To stay updated on the show, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all shows are available for download on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at stonesradionetworks.com. Follow the show and the gents on Twitter at OL OL, Fashion, and the number 3 at Phantom Radio 60 and at Whitey Gleason. This has been a production of Stones Radio Networks.